My name is Jeff Wilson. By day, I invest in tech companies, and at night, I invest in sports cards. Join me on my journey to profit from the hobby we all love. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Sports Card Investor. I'm Jeff Wilson, and today, a special edition episode. This is Sports Card Investing 101. Today, we are doing a special episode for people who are newer in sports card investing, people who have maybe never invested before, or they've just started to get into sports card investing. And today, we're going to cover some of the fundamentals and some of the basics. You see, most of the videos that I've created up until now had a presumption that you've done some sports card investing in the past. They had a presumption that you knew, for example, what the difference was between a PSA 10 or a BGS 9.5. They had a presumption that you knew what an RPA was, and perhaps you knew what the most popular brands of cards were within each sport that you should be investing in. But this hobby is growing quickly, and there are a lot of people that are getting into sports card investing for the first time. And therefore, I wanted to create an episode that covered all of the basics and fundamentals of sports card investing. Now, if you've been doing sports card investing for a while, this episode may not be for you. You may want to skip by it, and that's okay if that's the case, because I've got a lot of new content that's going to be coming out for you soon. But maybe you'd be willing to share this episode with some friends of yours who are newer into the arena of sports cards. That's what I'm hoping. And if you are new into sports cards or sports card investing, then this is going to be the perfect introduction for you to watch. So we've got a lot of fundamentals to cover today. Let's get right to it. The first question, what brands of cards are the best to buy for investment? So before I can answer this question, let me set up the landscape a little bit. Each of the major sports has an exclusive deal with a particular manufacturer. With baseball, it's Topps. Topps creates baseball cards. Now, Topps is the only manufacturer, because they have this exclusive deal, that is allowed to use the major league team logos on their cards. And from an investment standpoint, that's a really big deal. You only want to be buying cards that have the official logo on the card, or otherwise they're not going to be worth as much. For basketball and for football, the only manufacturer that can do that is Panini. And for hockey, the manufacturer with the exclusivity is Upper Deck. Now, soccer is a little bit different. Soccer doesn't have the same type of universal exclusivity, so you actually have both Panini and Topps playing in soccer. Knowing who has the exclusivity is very important, but each of these manufacturers creates a whole bunch of different brands or sets of cards. So for example, Panini, who has the exclusive for basketball, they create more than 20 different sets of basketball cards each year. You'll see cards like Optic and Noir and Flawless and National Treasures and Prism and even some old favorites like Donruss, a brand you might recognize, or Score. These are cards that Panini actually bought the licenses to, and they create cards with those brand names on them as well. But they're all owned by Panini. So the fact that Panini owns all of them is, simple from the fact that there's only one manufacturer, but it doesn't help with the complication of the fact that they create more than 20 different sub-brands of basketball cards. And again, more than 20 different sub-brands of football cards. And Topps does the same for baseball, and Upper Deck does the same for hockey. So that brings you to the next stage of the question, which of these, now that we know the manufacturers that create the different types of cards for each sport, what are the particular brands that these manufacturers create that are the ones you should be buying from an investment standpoint? And this is a very important question, and a very important question for you to know the answer to. And the reason why is, when it comes to sports card investing, my strong recommendation is that you focus in on only a few key brands. Don't cut out the noise. There's so much noise. There's so many different brands of cards. Let's say, for example, you want to collect a Luka Doncic card. You want to invest in Luka. Well, there are more than 20 different brands of Luka cards because Panini has made that many basketball cards for the last year. And then within each of those brands, there are tons of different variations and different card types and inserts and parallels. We're going to be talking about all of that. But what it means is there's easily over 100, probably at least a few hundred different Luka Doncic cards that you could buy. Not all of them are created the same. Not all of them are going to hold the same value over time. And it is my strong opinion that when looking for brands of cards to invest in, you only want to invest in a few key brands that are the ones that are most popular, the ones that have been around for a little while, that are not new, and the ones that are most likely to hold their value for the long term. Those are the brands you want to concentrate on. So what are those brands? For baseball, it is Bowman Chrome for prospects. So Bowman Chrome is the brand within baseball that has the key card for the prospects in baseball. And specifically, the cards that you want to get within Bowman Chrome are the ones that are numbered first Bowman. So they'll have a first, 1ST, first Bowman on those cards. Those are really the key cards you want to get. For rookie cards, now rookie cards are when the player in baseball has already made it to the major leagues and has played in the major leagues. For rookie cards, the key set for those is Topps Chrome. Topps Chrome. That is the set that's going to have the player's rookie card with the RC logo to specify rookie card. There are other good sets in baseball as well. Some others to look at include Topps Chrome Update, Bowman Draft, and then there are also some higher end products. But I would concentrate on those that I just mentioned. And specifically, Bowman Chrome and Topps Chrome are great places to start. Now, you heard me talk about that first prospect logo or the rookie card logo. That is so important. Buying the key rookie card or the key prospect card with that logo on it is really important. And it's confusing because there are a ton of different inserts. There's a ton of different variations of every player within a set. So even in a Bowman Chrome or Topps Chrome or different sets of basketball or football cards, you can find several variations of the same player's card with different looks and different styles, and they're going to be different variations. But it's really that core rookie card or that core first prospect card is the one you're going to want to zero in on. And any refactors or parallels of that card, which are color variations of that card, are going to be very important to collect. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. Let's talk about basketball. With basketball, your two key sets, your most important sets, in my opinion, are Prism for kind of an average, mid-tier set, or National Treasures for a high-end, expensive set. Those are going to be the two brands within basketball I would concentrate on. There are some other good ones as well. Contenders does well within basketball. Optic is kind of an up-and-coming brand within basketball. And then a lot of people also like to collect some of the higher-end product. Immaculate and Noir have also become quite popular in basketball too. So that's what you're looking for in basketball. But really, Prism and National Treasures is where I would first focus and then perhaps move on to some of those other brands I just mentioned. Football. For football, you're really looking at Contenders as your kind of your everyday brand, your easy entry price brand to collect in football. And then on the high end, National Treasures, where you're trying to go after like a really expensive key rookie card for a player, you would look at National Treasures for that. Other good brands to collect or invest in football include Prism, Select, and Optic. Those are some others that I would look at football. But first and foremost, Contenders and National Treasures is where I would look for football. And then hockey. For hockey, you're going to want first and foremost to look at Upper Deck Series 1 and Series 2. Series 1 and Series 2, the key rookie cards in those series are called the Young Guns. Those are the key rookie cards for various players. That's where you're going to want to look first. In addition to that, SP Authentic is another good brand within Upper Deck, SP Authentic, and they have the Future Watch auto cards, which are good cards for up-and-coming players. And then on the high end in hockey, you can collect the Cup. The Cup is going to be your high-end, rookie cards for your players. So those are the key sets in each sport that I would focus my attention on collecting. The next question then is, when do these sets come out? And the answer is all over the year, all different times throughout the course of the year. In fact, to give you an example, I'm currently recording this episode in August. the NBA season's been over now for a few months, but there are still sets coming out now and will be for the next month or two from last NBA season. At the same time, the first set for next NBA season comes out next week. So literally over the course of the calendar year, there are sets coming out all the time. It kind of never ends. And the same is true for baseball. The same is true for football. The same is true for hockey. There are sets coming out throughout the course of the year. You can anticipate when these sets are coming out. There are release calendars online. A great source for looking at release calendars is to go to cardboardconnection.com. That is a great source, and they give you the release calendars of what sets are coming up in the next few weeks, and they'll also tell you about each set and what type of cards are included in each set. So we talked about these different sets, different brands of cards. Within these sets and brands, what are the types of cards you should buy? So first and foremost, for investment card purposes, look only to rookie cards, or in the case of baseball, the first prospect cards. Those are the cards that you want to be collecting. There, in my opinion, is very little point from an investment standpoint in buying a card that is not a rookie card or not a player's first prospect card. And let me explain why. Scarcity is a really key concept when it comes to investing in sports cards. You want to buy cards that are rare. You want to buy cards that are scarce. The less of a card that's available, the more valuable it's going to be. So let's think about a player's career. Let's say there's a star player who might play for 15 years in whatever his respective sport is. That means that 1 year will be his rookie cards. The very first year he plays, there will be a release which contains his rookie cards. All of the different card brands that year will contain that player's rookie cards. For the next 14 years, that player will have additional cards created every single year, and none of those cards will be his rookie cards. So if you buy a player's card in year 3, that a very similar card of that player will come out in year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, year 9, year 10, etc. And by the time his career is over, all of those cards are going to be somewhat devalued and watered down by the sheer fact that there are so many of them. Whereas his rookie card, there was only 1 year of his rookie card ever released. His rookie cards only came out for a 1 year period of time. So that's why rookie cards are really important to collect from a scarcity standpoint. They're going to hold their value the best. They're the cards that everybody wants to get. So look to rookie cards or first prospect cards as the cards you want to get. Now, as you buy these sets, you'll notice that in a lot of sets, there are numbered cards. So there are base cards, which are typically your cards that are not numbered, not serial numbered. And then there are numbered cards. These are cards that might be numbered to 99. So if you look at the back of a card, it might show that you have card 3 of 99, or you might have another card might be numbered to 250. You might have card, 140 out of 250. In general, the serial number cards are going to be worth more than the base cards that are not serial numbered. In general, that's not always the case, and there are some exceptions to the rule. Like, for example, in basketball, Prism, which is the key set to collect in basketball, the Prism Silvers, which are not numbered, are really, really key rookie cards to collect, and they are actually worth more often than, let's say, the Prism Blues, which are numbered to, I think, 199, right? So sometimes you find that the non-number cards can be worth a little bit more, but most of the time, the number cards are worth more. And most of the time, the lower the number, the better. The lower the number, the better. So a card that is a 1 of 1 is going to be more valuable than a card that's a 1 out of 10, and that's going to be more valuable than a card that's a 1 out of 50. And there are, by the way, a wide variety of these types of cards. So let's take, for example, Bowman Chrome in baseball. In Bowman Chrome, you're going to find base cards for a particular player. Base cards are your standard, non-numbered, run-of-the-mill cards. They're your typical cards. But then you're also going to find what are called refactors or parallels. And a refactor card or a parallel card is the same design as the base card, except that it's a different color and it is serial numbered. So in Bowman, all of the different cards all of the different base cards are also available in a whole range of refractors. To give you an example, they have a standard refractor that is serial numbered to 499, a purple refractor serial number to 250, a blue refractor serial number to 150, a choice refractor serial number to 150, a green serial number to 99, a green atomic serial number to 99, a gold serial number to 50, a gold shimmer serial number to 50, an orange serial number to 25, an orange wave serial number to 25, a red serial number to 10, a red wave serial number to 5, a black mojo, which is a serial number to 1, meaning there's only ever one produced every year, only one produced ever of that particular card in that variation. And then finally, the superfractor, which is the most valuable of all the cards, also only numbered to 1. The superfractor, only one of those for every player printed in that set, only one in the whole world ever printed for, of that particular player that particular year. Tons of variations. Prism in basketball and Prism in football, as well as Optic in basketball and football, have a similar list of variations like that, color variations. And again, typically the lower the number, the more valuable. Not always the case. To know if that's the case, by the way, you need to check the historical prices of card sales. That's the way to navigate the whether a particular card that's numbered to 50 is going to be more or less valuable than another card that's numbered to, let's say, 100. Check historical card prices. We're going to talk about how to do that a little bit later in this show. But that gives you the rundown of the different types of cards. Again, you always want to collect rookie cards. You always want to collect first prospect cards and look for those logos. And here's another important point. Within each set, they will come out with several cards of the same player. So let's say in Prism basketball last year, you have your Luka Doncic rookie card, but then there's also what's called an insert set, where there is a Luka Doncic emergent card. The emergent card is an insert, means it is its own kind of set within the set. It's its own variation of the main cards, and you can kind of collect the insert cards just like you can collect the larger set. But inserts are typically not going to be worth nearly as much. And that Luka Doncic emergent card is worth nowhere near as much as the main traditional Luka Doncic rookie card. Look for that RC logo because that's going to be the key one you want to collect. The emergent card is not going to have that RC logo on it. In some sets, there are multiple cards with the RC logo. For example, National Treasures will do multiple variations of their rookie patch auto cards, RPAs. They'll do a horizontal variation and they'll do a vertical variation. They will have, in some cases, rookie card logos on multiple variations, but they are not all worth the same price. And in fact, in National Treasures, the vertical, which is numbered to 99 with the rookie card logo, is worth more than the horizontal, which is numbered to 49 with the rookie card logo. Explain that one to me. But that is just traditionally the cards that the collectors have valued. They have valued the number to 99. They consider that vertical card to be the true rookie card. It can be confusing knowing what card variation is worth what when there are multiple card variations of the same player within the same brand or the same set. And again, the best way to figure that out is to look at historical price data for what these cards have sold for in the past on eBay, and to use that as a judge as to whether one particular card type is better than another particular card type in terms of price and in terms of investment value. Also, if you're trying to buy the cards of a key player, an easy way to get a jump start on this is to Google the player's name and then add to that rookie card checklist. So for example, if you were to Google Luka Doncic rookie card checklist, you will find articles, often on Cardboard Connection or Beckett, that will actually list every single one of Luka Doncic's rookie cards. And in some cases, they will rank them. Beckett does this. They will rank them from least valuable to most valuable. And that's a really good guide. That will show you visually what his key rookie cards are in each set, what the ones you want to collect are, not the inserts, not the ones that are really not considered his true rookie cards. So if you Google a player's name and you add to that the rookie card checklist, you'll find your way to these articles about that player, and it will show you visually what all of his rookie cards look like. You will notice that as you start buying higher end cards, a lot of cards will have autographs on them. A lot of cards will have patches of the player's jersey. In general, getting a player's autograph adds a little bit of money to the value of the card. Getting a patch of the player's jersey may or may not. If it's a patch that is a nice size patch and maybe contains multiple colors on the patch, then it probably is adding some value. People who collect cards with patches on them, there's actually the quality of the patch and the number of colors on the patch actually affects the value of the card tremendously. So if you are buying a card with a large patch on it, you want to try to look for a card that has a nice patch, maybe a letter from the player's jersey and or multiple colors. Those are going to be the cards that are going to command a premium value from a collecting standpoint. But patches and autos don't always add a ton of value. What adds more value is finding the key rookie card for a particular player, the one that all the investors are looking to get. In the case of National Treasures, because I've mentioned them for basketball and football, the rookie patch auto cards in National Treasures, where you have a big patch of the player's jersey, plus an autograph, plus the rookie card logo, that is your key rookie card for that particular player, and those ones are going to really command the most value in those particular sports. If you're going after autograph cards, you ideally want what is called on-card autos and not sticker autos. So the difference is that a sticker auto is when a player has signed a clear, transparent sticker, like a label. They've signed a sheet of these labels, and then the card manufacturer peeled the labels off and put the label on the card. Now, of course, they designed the cards to be able to take these labels so that the label is, not noticeable. So that, you can see it a little bit, but they try to make it as least noticeable as possible. But it's still a sticker on the card. The player didn't sign the actual card. An on-card auto is where the player physically signed the card. On-card autos are always preferable. They're always more valuable. So if a set has multiple types of autos, the on-card ones are going to be typically the ones you're going to go for. And in general, the higher end of the product, the more you're willing to pay for a particular set of cards, the more likelihood that you're going to get an actual on-card auto. So for example, National Treasures, almost all of the cards in National Treasures, you're getting nice on-card autos. Whereas with Prism, which is another very, very collectible set, but not as valuable as National Treasures, you're getting sticker autos in most cases. So that's kind of a big difference between sets like that. Okay, so we've talked a lot about different types of cards, different brands, and different sets of cards. How do you know what a good deal is? How do you cut through the noise and know if you're, first of all, buying the right card? Like, is this actually the player's key card? And then what is a good deal? What price should I be bidding or paying for that card? The best way to find that information is to look at historical price data, specifically what that same exact card has sold for in the past on eBay. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do that. The most simple approach is if you simply go on eBay and you do a search for a particular player's card. Like, for example, if you search Luka Doncic Prism Silver, and maybe you want it graded. So maybe you search Luka Doncic Prism Silver PSA 10, put the year in there. So 2018 Luka Doncic Prism Silver PSA 10. It's going to show you all of those cards that are currently for sale on eBay. On the left-hand side of the screen, if you scroll down, there's a checkbox that gives you the option to show completed items and sold items. And if you check those boxes, it will change the search to actually show you items of that exact card that have sold in the last 3 months. That is one way you can now look at historical prices. Now, it will not tell you if a card was a buy it now and somebody made an offer on the buy it now at a lower price. It won't tell you what the offer was, but there are other ways to get that information, which I'll tell you about in a second. But what it will do is it will tell you any card that was a buy it now where the person paid the buy it now price, and it will also tell you what auctions completed at for that particular card. That is a great way to understand the historical value of a particular card. Very important way, especially if you're looking at buying a variation. So let's say you're trying to buy a Luka Doncic that's numbered to 50 in the Prism set. What you would do is you would search for 2018 Luka Doncic Prism /50. And that will show you cards that have sold that were serial numbered to 50. And of course, if you know the color variation, you can also search by the name of the color, blue or red, white, and blue, silver, which is going to be your most popular, rookie card to collect, or gold if you want to go for a really high end, hard to find because golds are only numbered to 10 in the Prism set, etc. And then look at what those have sold for over time. And if you cannot find a recent sale, sometimes it's hard. Like if you're trying to buy, let's say, a card that's only serial numbered to 10, sometimes it's hard to find a recent sale of that particular player, of that card. It may not have sold in the last few months. But what you can do as a trick is you can then start looking for other players that are of a similar stature. So if you cannot find, let's say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's rookie card numbered to 10 because none have sold, then maybe search for Kevin Knox numbered to 10, or maybe search for Mitchell Robinson numbered to 10, because those might be players within his draft class that are around a similar type of price point. Michael Porter Jr. numbered to 10, and then you could kind of, maybe one of those has sold. And then you can draw an equivalency over to say, well, if Michael Porter Jr. if his out of 10 sold for $1,000, and Michael Porter Jr.'s silver is selling for $100. I'm making up numbers here, but I think they're about right. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's silver is selling for $80, then maybe his gold is worth $800, right? Comparatively to what Michael Porter Jr.'s gold would have sold for. So that gives you a way that you can kind of compare prices on more rare cards and know what a fair price would be for a particular card. So that's how you can look up historical price information on eBay. There's actually a couple other tools I want to mention that are really helpful. One is the PWCC Marketplace. PWCC is kind of a big name in the card industry. They got in some bad publicity recently. They're a big auction house. But they, on their website, offer a really nice free tool called the Market Price Research Tool. And it will show you historical eBay sales data, but instead of being limited to the last 3 months worth of sales like eBay is, their Market Price Research Tool goes back about 10 years. So you can go backwards way deep into time and look at what cards have sold for, which is really nice if you're either trying to buy a rare card or if you're trying to buy a card that's not from this year. You may want to go back in time and look at what it sold for over the course of time. It's a free tool. You just have to register for a free account on PWCC's website. Another tool to look at is CardSnoop.com. CardSnoop will actually tell you what people paid for the buy it now on eBay when eBay itself won't give you that buy it now information. And by the way, going back to the PWCC tool, the Market Price Research Tool, when searching in that tool, make sure only to search for auctions, only to search for completed auctions. Don't search for fixed price, because right now the PWCC Market Price Research Tool will only be able to pull in what the cards were listed at their original buy it now price, not what people actually paid for, which is completely unhelpful information. In fact, it's not even good for you to see, because those numbers aren't even real in terms of what people actually paid. But CardSnoop.com will tell you what people actually paid for any completed auction on eBay that was a buy it now auction. So that's how you can figure out on a buy it now what somebody paid for a card. So definitely use these tools to understand the market around the price of a card before you make an offer, before you make a bid, before you go to buy a card on your own. It is very important to be successful as a sports card investor to be well researched on the historical price of a particular card that you want to buy to make sure that you're getting a good deal. So we've talked a lot about these different types of cards. What about boxes, right? It's fun to go buy a box of cards and to rip open the box, go buy a box of Prism or a box of Bowman Chrome or Topps Chrome, or if you really want to splurge, maybe you want to go buy a box of National Treasures or Immaculate or a product like that. What is the best variation of box to buy? Because if you start to go buy these boxes, you'll find that for a lot of products, there's different types of boxes. There's hobby boxes. There are specialty boxes like Hometown Advantage boxes in baseball that Topps puts out. There's retail boxes, blaster boxes, hanger boxes, cello boxes. If you walk into your local Walmart or Target, you'll see all of those. What is the best type of these to buy from an investment standpoint? Well, first of all, from an investment standpoint, none of these are particularly good to buy, and we'll talk about why in a minute. But if you're going to buy boxes of cards, the answer is it depends. Hobby boxes are typically the most expensive type of box. It typically is going to guarantee you the most hits. Now, a hit is a big card that you're pulling out of a box, a valuable card, something like an autograph card or a serial numbered card. That would be considered to be a hit. And typically the hobby boxes will guarantee you a certain number of hits in the box, a certain number of autographs, or a certain number of the parallels or refractors. Some of the other products like retail boxes and blaster boxes, they too will guarantee you a certain number of hits, but it will be a lot lower number. Hobby boxes guarantee you a lot more. But hobby boxes are also a lot more expensive. You may easily pay a few $100 for a hobby box where you can walk into Target or Walmart and buy a blaster box from the same set for like $20. So which is the better deal? The answer is it really depends on the set. And oftentimes there's not necessarily one that is that much of a better deal. You would think that hobby boxes are the better deal because they're the more premium product, and so you would get maybe more bang for your buck. And I would generally think that's true, but that is not always the case. In fact, I read a really good analysis of Prism basketball last year that actually suggested that the blaster boxes that you can buy at Target and Walmart for $19, you're better off buying many of those than a single hobby box for the same amount of money. And you'll actually end up with more hits buying several blaster boxes than a single hobby box. So it depends on the particular set. Now, what you don't want to buy is you don't want to buy individual packs, especially in a retail environment like Walmart or Target, because there are people who go to those stores and they will actually weigh the packs of cards, knowing that autograph cards and particularly memorabilia cards are going to be a little bit heavier. So they will sit there and they will weigh the different packs and pull the packs out that they think are going to have the big hits in them. So do not buy individual packs of cards. Buy boxes. Buying boxes is a little bit safer, even in a retail environment. Make sure they're sealed boxes so nobody's tampered with them. Factory sealed with the factory logo on the seal. Those are the types of boxes that you want to buy. And of course, if you go online, a lot of the big online retailers can carry all these different types of boxes, from hobby boxes to retail boxes and all the different variations thereof. And if you're curious what's included in a certain box, the number of hits that you're guaranteed, the number of autos you're guaranteed, it often says on the box, but you can also go to a website like cardboardconnection.com, and it's going to contain a complete rundown for every product. So let's say for a Topps Chrome or a Bowman Chrome or a Prism basketball, you can go onto Cardboard Connection and look at that product, and it will tell you all of the different variations of boxes and what's contained in each box in terms of the numbers of hits. So that's a good way to get educated on that. So, are buying boxes a good investment? The answer is that if you're buying boxes to take them home and rip them open and try to find valuable cards in the boxes, no, they are almost never a good investment. Unfortunately, because buying boxes is a lot of fun and I love ripping boxes open. It is a thrill. But the truth of the matter is, it is very similar to a slot machine pull in Vegas. most of the time you're going to bust open a box and you're going to end up with not as much value in that box as what you paid for the box. So if you, for example, were to open up a box, take all the cards out of it, and then immediately go sell all those cards on eBay, most of the time you would end up getting less money by selling all those cards than what you paid for the box, originally, and a lot of times a lot less money. Very much like a slot machine pull in Las Vegas, most of the time you're going to put money in and pull it and not be able to take that much money out of the machine. However, just like a slot machine pull in Las Vegas, you will sometimes hit it big. And boxes give you the opportunity to hit a jackpot card, a really, really big hit. You can buy a $20 box at Walmart and end up with a card in that $20 box that is worth a few $100s or more. That happens. It does happen. It happens all the time. So it's a bit of a slot machine pull, but you have to get really lucky to get that type of return on a box. So in general, boxes are not good investments, even though they're a lot of fun. So if you want to just open one for fun, by all means, buy boxes and open them. Even though I invest in sports cards, I still love buying boxes and opening them. But when I do it, I know that I'm not doing it from an investment standpoint. I'm doing it for fun. That said, there are some people that will buy boxes and not open the boxes, keep them sealed, and hold on to those boxes as an investment, and then sell the boxes down the road in the future. That can actually be a pretty good investment strategy, but whether that's going to be successful or not all depends on how well the rookies from that year pan out. If you happen to buy boxes from a year where there's a really strong rookie class, and in a few years, those rookies have started to go on to do really, really big things, then your boxes are probably going to go up in value. But if you happen to buy boxes from a year where the really big rookies that year really don't pan out and they kind of fizzle out, then your boxes are probably going to go down in value. So boxes can be an investment, but it's really predicated on that year's rookie class as to whether they turn into a good investment for you or not. So we've talked a lot about cards. We've talked a lot about boxes. What is the best way to buy cards and boxes? So let's start with cards. The king of buying cards online is eBay. eBay is a great source to buy cards online because they have so much inventory. Auctions on eBay, you typically will get a fair price in an auction, although you have to watch out for shill bidding. Shill bidding is where the person who has the item up for auction will also be bidding on his or her own item for the purpose of driving the price up. The way to combat shill bidding is to not bid early and to wait until the very last second to bid. Like, it is ideal to not bid at all until there's like a second or two left in the auction and then bid. And that gives you some protection against shill bidding from occurring. There are, by the way, some services. If you search for bid sniping services, sniping is what this is called. Sniping is when you bid in the very last second of an eBay auction. If you search for sniping services, there are some websites that you can sign up for that will actually go to an auction and bid on your behalf on eBay when there's a second or two left. And that's a good way to do it because it's obviously hard for you to sit in front of the computer all day and wait for that auction to get down to the very, very end and place a bid at the very last second. If you're going to use buy it now on eBay, most buy it now listings on eBay are pretty bad deals. Most things on eBay that are buy it now are listed way too high for what the card is worth. You always want to make an offer. And oftentimes, you want to come in at an offer that's like 50% or sometimes even less than what the buy it now is, because typically the buy it nows are pretty outrageous. But you should know your prices. You should have done the historical price research to know what that particular card has sold for in the past, and then make an offer that is maybe perhaps around or slightly below what that card has recently sold for, to have a good chance of potentially getting your offer accepted. Don't get discouraged if you place a lot of offers and a lot of them don't get accepted. There are a lot of people who put their cards in eBay and put insanely high prices on them and just keep them up there and just are waiting for some sucker to come along and pay that price. So don't be that sucker. And don't get discouraged if a lot of your offers get rejected because you're holding out to try to find a good deal for yourself. That's perfectly fine. Other websites, check out My Cards. comc.com has a nice inventory of cards. Sometimes it's hard to find a good deal there, but they've got a good inventory, so that's definitely a website to check out. The Pit and StockX are two websites that have kind of a unique method for buying and selling cards. You actually go into those websites and specify what card you want to buy and then set a price that you're willing to pay, and then somebody else has to agree to sell it to you at that price. So it's kind of a little bit of a backwards type of site in that you as a seller specify a price, or rather you as the buyer specify the price instead of the seller specifying the price. The Pit has a lot of inventory that way. StockX is just getting into the game. StockX was the big sneaker trading website, and they're just getting into sports cards and operating using that same model. And then, of course, there are other ways to buy cards in person. There's card shows, right? You hopefully have a local card show to you. That's a great way to go and look at cards. There's also the National, which is an amazing card show that happens once a year. It's the National Sports Collectors Convention. Next year, it is in Atlantic City in 2020, in July. And if you can get there, that is an amazing way to just millions and millions of cards for you to check out and buy. And then, of course, local card shops. Hopefully you have a local card shop in your area, and they're going to have an inventory of cards as well. In terms of buying boxes, you can buy boxes through some of those places that I just mentioned as well. You can buy boxes on eBay, you can buy boxes at card shows, you can buy boxes from your local card shops. There are also some major online retailers which typically offer the best prices on boxes. Dave and Adam's Card World, Blowout Cards, and Steel City are the big three that I have used in the past and have had good experience with. So I would recommend them. And then one final aspect of buying cards is card breakers. So breakers is a phenomenon that started about 10 years ago, where dealers or breakers will buy these boxes of cards unopened, and then instead of selling the box to people, they'll sell a part of the box to a bunch of people, and then they will open the box live, typically on a streaming service like YouTube Live. You can buy a slot in that card break. So you can buy one particular slot, and then that means that you get a piece of that card break, a piece of whatever they're about to open. So typically card breaks are sold by the team or the player. So you could buy a particular team. So for example, if they're breaking a box of Topps Chrome, I'm going to buy the Yankees, and therefore any Yankees card that comes out of that box is mine. Sometimes they're random team, so you just buy in and they will randomly give you a team. Sometimes you buy a particular player. So I want to buy Aaron Judge, and any Aaron Judge cards that come out of the box of Topps Chrome are mine. Sometimes they're by serial number, where you get a particular number, and if that serial number happens to be pulled out, that's your card. Breaking is a lot of fun. It's a good way to collect cards. It's particularly a good way that if you're going after a particular team, it gives you an opportunity to do that efficiently. Does breaking offer a better investment if you buy into a break than if you buy a box on your own? In most cases, no. There may be some opportunities to find a little bit of a better deal by buying into a card break. For example, if you're buying into a card break where you're buying cards by the team, and maybe they have a particular team a little bit undervalued. Maybe in basketball, they have the Phoenix Suns undervalued, but you really think that certain players on the Suns, like Aiden, are going to go on to have really good careers, and that their cards are a little undervalued right now. You may want to buy the Suns because you think you could get a particularly good value on them. So that's one way that buying into card breaks can be perhaps a decent investment. But in general, it's a lot like buying into a box, that you're taking a chance, you're taking a risk, you're hoping to get a big hit, and oftentimes you won't get your value back, but they're certainly a lot of fun to do. Let's talk about graded cards for a couple of minutes, because card grading is hugely important to sports card investors. So what is grading? Grading didn't exist, first of all, in the late 80s when I was big into sports cards the first time around. Grading is where you can take a card, ideally a card that looks to be in perfect condition, and you can mail it to a grading company or give it to them in person at a card show if they're going to be at a card show that you're at. The major grading companies are called PSA and Beckett, which their modern card grading service is called BGS. You mail them or you give them the card, and then they will actually grade that card on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best. And they will then put that card in a protective holder that's tamper-proof and stamp the grade that they gave that card on it. The reason why grading is really important is it gives you a consistent understanding of the quality of the card, which when you're buying cards online, for investment purposes, I highly recommend buying graded cards and only buying graded cards if you're going to buy cards online for investment, because that's the only way you can know for sure that you're getting a really good quality card, because sometimes the pictures of a card online don't show if the card has a scratch or some sort of defect to it that you can't tell until you actually physically look at that card. So card grading gives you a sense of fairness. Now, card grading is a little bit complicated. The PSA grades on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best. And by the way, in order for grading to really matter and to add value, you have to get a 10. A PSA 9 typically sells for not much more money than what an ungraded card would sell for. Often they sell for around the same amount of money. So having a PSA 9 for a modern card doesn't add a lot of value. Now, for an older card, for a card that's 20 or 30 or more years old, then a PSA 9 still may be very valuable compared to an ungraded card. But for a card that came out in the last few years, a PSA 9 is really not much better than having the card ungraded. So you have to get a PSA 10 in order for it to be really valuable. Now, BGS grades slightly differently. BGS 9.5 is considered to be the equivalent of a PSA 10, meaning a BGS 9.5 is gem mint, just like a PSA 10 is gem mint. But BGS has grades beyond a 9.5. They also have a 10 and they also have a black label. Those are extremely difficult to get. A BGS 10, which is called pristine, is extremely rare. I think only something like maybe 1 out of every 40 cards that are a BGS 9.5 qualify then to be a BGS 10. And then a black label, which means it is the most perfect in every way, is even rarer than a BGS 10 or BGS 9.5. A black label is something like 1 in 100, or actually even more extreme than that, I think. 1 in a few hundred. So a black label is very hard to get. But because there is a BGS 10 and a BGA black label, the BGS 9.5s are not quite as valuable as a result. So for modern cards, typically a PSA 10 is going to command maybe about 20 to 25% more value, more money, than a BGS 9.5 will command. However, a BGS 10 or a BGS black label are going to be several times more valuable than a PSA 10. So, it's a matter of opinion as to whether you are better off getting PSA cards. If you're submitting cards for grading, it's a matter of opinion. Are you better submitting it to PSA and hoping for a PSA 10? Or are you better submitting to BGS, where there's a big likelihood you'll get a BGS 9.5, which will not be as valuable as a PSA 10, but there's a small likelihood that you'll get a BGS 10 or black label, which will be much more valuable than a PSA 10. In my opinion, PSA, because the odds are really remote on you getting a BGS 10 or black label. So I think go PSA, hope to go for the PSA 10. That's what I like to, if I'm submitting cards for grading, I like to go PSA. If I'm buying cards as an investor, it doesn't really matter. PSA 10, BGS 9.5, they're good cards to buy. I'm going to pay a little bit of a premium for PSA 10 over BGS 9.5, but either of those cards would be fine for me to buy as an investor. Most of the time, I will not buy cards that are graded below that very often as an investor, but I will be looking for 10s and 9.5s and be happy with those as an investor. Now, some people will buy cards raw, meaning ungraded. Raw means an ungraded card, and then submit it for grading with the plan that it will score as a 10 or 9.5 and therefore be worth a lot more than what they paid for it raw. That is a strategy that can be successful, but it is a tricky strategy to employ because it is hard to tell exactly what the grading companies are going to give a card. And sometimes you'll have a card that you think is going to be a 10 and you submit it and it comes back as a PSA 9. And now what you've done is paid a lot of money to submit a card, and you get the card back, and it's not really worth anything more than it was before you submitted it. By the way, how much does it cost to grade? If you're going to send a bunch of cards in bulk, like 50 or more cards at a time, it can be as little as $8 a card to grade. If you're going to send them in lesser quantities, it's typically $20 or sometimes a little bit more than that to send them in for grading. So there is definitely expense in sending a card in for grading, and therefore you're only going to get a good return on it if your card is able to qualify for a PSA 10 grade or a BGS 9.5 grade. Now, the final thing I'll say about grading is there has been quite a bit of controversy recently about grading, and trim cards that have gotten graded with good grades, even though they have been trimmed or altered. That is a very unfortunate black stain on the industry. However, I am still a big believer in card grading. I am a big believer that PSA and BGS will find better methods for evaluating and grading cards to prevent some of that type of thing from happening in the future. And I still think that grading is very important to the hobby, and it's very important for how you buy cards, particularly online. So I'm still a big advocate in investing in graded cards despite that scandal going on. So finally for today, how can I learn more about cards? Well, first and foremost, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel, Sports Card Investor. On YouTube, hit the subscribe button and then hit the little bell icon next to the subscribe button. I'm putting out episodes routinely telling you about how to do card investing. So subscribing, you'll get lots of great content that way. If you're listening on the podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any podcast network as well to be notified of my new episodes. Also, I have a website, sportscardinvestor.com, and I have set up a Discord chat server. This is a free chat server for you to join where you can chat with others in the hobby. You can go in and you can ask questions about Sports Card Investor. You can get to my free Discord chat server by clicking on the link in the show notes for this show. Or by going to my website, sportscardinvestor.com. But I am not the only source of information when it comes to sports card investing. I recommend Breaker Culture. Breaker Culture is another great podcast and blog that you can check out for sports card investing. I also recommend the Blowout Forums. The Blowout Forums are a big online message board community that the online store Blowout Cards put together. Lots of great discussion in there. And then, of course, there are many great people you can follow on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram who will bring you lots of information about cards and card investing. So I hope this was a great episode for you. I hope you learned a lot. Please share this with anyone else new who you know is getting into sports card investing. Would love to share this content with them and would love to have you watch future episodes to continue to learn more about sports card investing and all of the great things that are happening in the sports card world. Thank you very much for joining us. See you again soon.